trust among officers and damage a department's reputation.
Tonight, King 5 investigator Linda Byron exposes sexual misconduct cases at 2 police departments in Western Washington. The cases raise questions about what should happen when officers engage in conduct unbecoming.
A police officer's most powerful weapon isn't a gun, it's the badge.
We are there to protect, to serve the public.
The badge commands respect.
We're police officers.
And demands a code of conduct.
We have a higher standard.
From those who wear it.
Officers, again, I believe, should serve as the moral compass for their communities. And they should always point north.
But what should be done when officers violate the codes they've sworn to uphold? Mill Creek Police Chief Bob Crannell faced that question when allegations surfaced earlier this year that 2 of his patrol officers were having secret sexual rendezvous. They happened at this abandoned house, in a nature preserve, and at a construction site, all while on duty.
I was very surprised.
Both were experienced officers with unblemished records. Mill Creek is a small department, just 26 sworn officers. Crennel put the 2 officers on paid leave and decided to hand over the case to an outside investigator. That investigator interviewed more than a dozen officers and reviewed hundreds of documents, including dispatch records, emails, and text messages. The investigation cost Mill Creek $18,000. The conclusion? The 2 officers engaged in sexual activity while on duty approximately 10 times, even though they understood their behavior was inappropriate.
They are sworn to uphold the law and do a certain job and act as a model for the community. And in this case, those 2 officers failed that obligation.
The chief warned the officers they would probably be fired for conduct unbecoming and neglect of duty if the case went to a disciplinary hearing. Both officers resigned. Was Mill Creek too harsh? For answers, we went to a national expert on police ethics.
Balance an officer's performance.
Neil Melton is head of the state board that regulates the practice of law enforcement in Minnesota.
To remove yourself from public service by having sex on duty absolutely violates the trust of the citizens.
It isn't just happening in one police department. We found a similar case here in Bellevue. It also involved allegations of sex on duty, but it was handled much differently. Mill Creek's investigation lasted 2 months. Bellevue's just 3 days. The Bellevue case involved a male officer with 8 years on the department and a female dispatcher. According to an internal report obtained by the King 5 investigators, in 2008, the 2 had sexual relations while on and off duty in the police administrative office in Bellevue City Hall, including a bathroom and conference room used by the chief and command staff.
My first reaction was shock, certainly, because I knew the employee.
In fact, he worked in the chief's office, but she didn't learn of the allegations until 2009 and immediately launched an investigation. During extensive questioning, the dispatcher said she and the officer had sex in the police department at least 11 times, and that one of those times caused a delay in the officer performing police duties. A suspect had stolen a police car and hit 2 people, but the officer was in the bathroom having sex when he was needed to help send out a press release. Yet he was never fully questioned.
The officer took full responsibility immediately.
The chief offered him a deal: go back to patrol with a 4% pay cut, and she would drop the investigation. It's a decision that has some officers quietly seething.
It was a discipline that I feel was appropriate and sent a strong message that that type of behavior is not tolerated in this police department.
Some people tell us in your own department it sent a message that he got away with it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, because he did not get away with it.
I don't think the public good is served by a decision like that.
Melton says the Bellevue officer should have been fired. Sex in the workplace isn't a crime, and it happens in the private sector too. But the badge that commands respect demands it too.
Because if the public doesn't have faith that the police can police themselves, then we've lost all credibility.
Linda Byron,
King 5 News.
None of the officers wanted to talk with us. The 2 Mill Creek officers have left law enforcement. The Bellevue officer is working a patrol, and according to the police chief, is being closely supervised.